we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Bearded Men of Real Estate Show. I'm Ray. This is Dan. Say hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
And this is episode 162 of this lovely show.
And
again, with a different.
It gets easier every week, Ray.
It gets easier, but I can't. I'm OCD. I've made my lights as blue as possible. My shirt looks like turquoise, but under these lights, it's like a weird green color, and yours is bluer. I don't know what we're doing here. So
mine's the real color. Mine is
I would agree.
Well,
I would agree. So there's something going on with my camera. I don't know. Anyway, my name's Ray. We're both real estate agents, and we're bearded, which make us perfect hosts for the show that we used to call, hint, hint, the Bearded Men of Real Estate Show. But be on the lookout. There may be some changes a-coming. So, everyone in Clubhouse already knows. If you want to chime in on Clubhouse, you're welcome to. You need to follow the Real Estate Networking Club. If you follow the Real Estate Networking Club, you'll be pinged whenever we talk about real estate, especially all this real estate news that we're going to cover today. You could join, and if you are in the show, you can pop up on this stage, and you can hit your mic, and you can say anything. And it's kind of dangerous, actually. It'll be broadcast live on YouTube, Facebook, and they'll be recorded and uploaded to the podcast. So you can also watch us live on YouTube and Facebook if you are now. We really appreciate that. You can chime in, you can make a comment, and then we can display your comment and talk about you, or we can just talk about your comment. So we really appreciate all the interaction. And I totally forgot to share the show, so I need to get on the Facebooks and be sure to share the show. But we have a bunch of news stories that we're going to talk about today. First, we're going to dive into the Supreme Court ruling recently on the whole eviction thing. So last Thursday, news broke, and basically they said what the CDC said they were doing with the eviction moratorium, they can't do. So we'll talk about the ramifications of that, but they also left some things in place, and there may be some places around the country where you still can't evict your tenants for non-payment. So we will talk about that. We're also going to talk about Zillow. So Glenda Baker was in the show prep show yesterday, and Glenda said, oh, this is really interesting. I'm not even seeing our oh, there it is. Glenda Baker said that Zillow had 20 patents that could impact the way real estate agents were attempting to display real estate listings on their own websites. And so we'll dive into that. I actually read the whole patent application, Dan, because that's how much life I have. So not reading.
Well, but can I ask this though? Because you mentioned it. If you're not on Clubhouse, guys, by the way, go on Clubhouse. We do a show prep show every Tuesday at about 3 p.m. Eastern time, and then obviously we're live on Clubhouse now. But he mentioned it yesterday, and then today he mentioned that he read the whole patent. Now, did you start reading and then get drawn in, or did you just want to read it?
Well, I wanted to read it so I could maybe be more intelligent. I'm not even smart in how I'm saying this. I wanted to read it so I'd have more of the ability to, I'm going to say, wax poetic about what they're trying to do and what they're trying to patent in the latest patent application.
Right.
And so I read it.
Does it mention the other 20? Those 20 aren't new, by the way. I don't want to give too much of a story away, but
yeah, the 20 aren't new. There's just one recently that's kind of like the aha one that people are pointing out. They're not new, but I wanted to be able to talk intelligently about this whole topic. So I read the entire patent, and I can tell you after reading it, I can't talk intelligently about this whole thing.
Good thing I didn't read it.
I mean, it like re-references parts of the patent, and it's super vague. I mean, really vague. And so it's really hard to tell exactly what they're talking about through the whole patent discussion, but we're going to dive into that. If you know somebody that's like a patent attorney that's already looked into this and they know their stuff, I would love for you to hit the little plus button and bring them in, because if they can look at this and then tell us, no, Ray, you and the other real estate agents are crazy. They're just trying to protect their intellectual property. Or they may say, no, Ray, you are right on. Glenda Baker was right on. Not only are they trying to prevent you from displaying properties on your website like they do, they will have to come after you, because that's what patents are there for, and that's the legal ramification. If they don't come after you, then it can't hold water. So that's going to be an interesting topic that we can get into and pretend like we know what we're talking about. But then we're going to talk about the economy, which we've been following. The prices are up. The applications to purchase homes are down. And it seems like maybe the Fed has created a bubble, a real estate bubble. And we'll talk about if there is a bubble and if it will pop in a wonderful article from Logan Matashami. Then I think if we have time, we're going to do a brief mention about something that Inman's doing for their Inman Connect. And maybe a little brief discussion about unemployment. The benefits are running out towards the end of the week. And we want to know from you guys, how is this going to impact the market? What do you see happening? What do you see coming? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? So I know on the show prep show yesterday, a lot of people were talking about the help wanted signs all over. And
everywhere.
And they predict that as this thing, as the benefits go away, those help wanted signs will come down as people go back to work. So we'll see. We'll wait and see. All right. So Dan, how's your week so far, man? Has it been nuts? I mean, we don't have a producer now, so it's all kind of back on us.
Well, I was kind of hoping, because Matt let Ray know late last week, so we were ready for this. So I was hoping.
What is your definition of ready?
Well, that's okay. So aware. How about aware of this? But not ready.
Yeah.
Like,
we knew it was
I'm so unprepared today. I don't even have anything to drink. Usually I have water or iced tea or something. I don't have any of that. But
I don't even think you brushed your hair today.
I did not. This is literally just how I woke up today, and it happens to look pretty cool. So I'm like, you know what? I'll go with it. But anyway, so I was hoping like, okay, cool. We got this. We're good. Because Ray used to produce the show, and then I would kind of help here and there. Yeah, there's no Matt. There's a Matt Malarsh though. We'll get back into that later. We were ready. I was so ready. And then yesterday was absolutely insane. This morning was absolutely insane. So yeah, it's been a little bit of a crazy week.
Has it been crazy for you because the amount of buyers and sellers that you have, or has it been crazy for you because the amount of paperwork, or what is it that is kind of nutty right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
yeah. And then there's also softball stuff happening that's adding to the madness, because I'm also a softball coach, and you're
a softball coach now. We talked about the shorts in the past there. Melissa Mara said, "Just let it happen. The hair is fantastic." She said, "There you go."
Hey, at almost 48 years old, I will take this for a hairline. I'm down.
I'd take that.
And by the way, if you hate our much maligned banter,
you can always go down to the description of the YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube later, you can always go down to the description of the YouTube, and there's going to be every article that we cover plus little timestamps, so you can jump right past this much maligned and appreciated banter and go right to the articles that you're most interested in. We're also going to try to continue to have the chops. They may not be as pretty, kind of depends, but we're still going to have bits and pieces chopped up and then added back to the YouTube channel. So if you subscribe to that, you'll be alerted daily as we upload those extra videos, those little parts. So if you can't stay with us all day, we understand. We do want you to not lurk. So if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, please be sure you comment, put some notes in there, say hi, let us know. Matt Farrell says, "We hate it, JK. We love it." So
I think that means
he's here for the hair. Yeah, he's here for the hair.
Yeah. Okay. And we always got to know the only allowed lurker is my father, Norm.
Yeah. Norm is here. So
Norm's usually here chilling, and he can lurk. It's okay. That's dude's been around a minute. He's earned lurking privileges.
Well, before we get into all these headlines that we were talking about, Dan, do you want to tell people what this show is actually all about?
I'd love to. And I am going to get you today, Ray. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
I always think that, by the way. But when Ray and I met, there's my dad.
See, there's Norm. Norm says hi. Hi, Norm.
See, he doesn't even know how to put caps on. He did all low caps. Or maybe he's just unenthusiastic. He's like, hi.
Hi.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. No, I'm just kidding, man. My father and I have the best relationship ever. So when we started this, when Ray and I met, I don't even know. It's just been a while since Ray and I met here on the interwebs. I had an idea for a show because I'm in fact a bearded man of real estate. And when I met Ray, I noticed something very interesting about him.
Really? What is that, Daniel?
He used to design websites for small companies with 20 employees or less. Go ahead, Ray. Go ahead.
I did. I was in high school. I had a company. Are you serious? You didn't know this?
I didn't know that.
No, that was my first. It's my first company ever. I was in high school, and I built websites for small businesses. So my dad had a little marketing company. And these guys would hire my dad for the marketing side, and I would get to build them a website. So it was back in the day where you had to like write HTML code. There was like no JavaScript or anything back then. I did.
Oh my God!
I built websites for small business. The funniest part about that was when I was in high school, I did the work study program, you know, where you could like, instead of going to school for, the last 2 or 3 hours of the day, if you had a job or a hardship, you could like go to that job. And then your boss would write a note saying, hey, Ray came to work all week. He did great. Here's what we're working with him on. Here you go. And then you take that to the principal. So they said, Ray, we need you to have your employer write a note for this work study program. I was self-employed. So I wrote myself a note. I was like, Ray did great. Here's what he did. And then I signed it with my name. And the principal said, you can't do that. And I said, why not?
I'm self-employed.
So my company hired me, and this is what I did for them. And here's everything. And here's what I'm working on. And he was like, no, we're going to need something from your clients. So I had to work into my contracts with my clients that they would agree to sign a little work study form for me as I brought them on and onboarded them.
Yeah, because technically they're the bosses, I guess.
I guess you could say you're working for the client. So that was my first. That was my first gig. Was a web designer.
So it's possible that I had that somewhere in the back of my brain, but I swear to God, I did not know that when I said that. And I made it extremely specific.
It was all small businesses too. There are no
God, that's insane. Yeah. Shop. So maybe it's somewhere back in the early days when we first met, but it's been a long time. So maybe I've forgotten. My brain works in mysterious ways, but that's amazing. I had no idea. That's amazing. And I tried to make it extra specific. Anyway, so Ray's had the entrepreneurial spirit for a long time. So that's good times. But I like doing that every week to help us get to know Ray a little bit, because I believe Ray is a fascinating human being. But I noticed he's obviously a beautifully bearded man. But what he also likes to do is he loves to give value up front to not only his clients, but also to humans in general. So the show's about being more as an agent, but also being more as a human.
Yeah, and one of the things we think helps you be more is to know what in the world's going on, especially if you're helping people manage their largest asset. So we believe it's important to be informed and to know exactly what's happening in the real estate market, or at least know just past the headlines. If all you know is the headlines, and you're going to be on an emotional roller coaster constantly.
Yeah.
Constantly. So, that's why we have the show. You can just come to one place, spend about an hour with us, and then after that, you should have a pretty good idea of everything that happened this week in real estate.
Yeah, and then we found that, weekly, and it still happens. Now it's more than ever, because now we're doing more research than ever, partially for us, but partially for the show. But when we first started the show, it was like, dude, every week I'm bringing up something that we talked about on the show, or it's helping me predict something that's coming, or just learn the market better, and the clients are seeing the value. So, get past those headlines. But if you can't, listen to us every week. And by the way, we are a podcast. So on your favorite smart speaker, you can just say, hey, I can't say it. She'll start listening to me, or she's listening now. But hey,
she's always listening.
Yeah, play the Bearded Men of Real Estate Show podcast, and they'll play the most recent episode. And you can just listen in your car or however you like to listen.
There you go. Are you ready to get into these headlines?
I'm not. I'm still blown away, but yes, I'm ready to go.
All right, let's do it. I ran in just like that. We're in the headlines. Oh, wait. Oh, see, I just went right into the headlines without adding this to the stream. So boom, there we go. All right. So the Supreme Court ends Biden's eviction moratorium. So the Supreme Court, we have a couple of articles on this. This one is from, I believe that was the New York Times I displayed, right? Yeah, that's the New York Times. So the ruling followed political and legal maneuvering by the administration to retain protections for tenants. It put hundreds of thousands at risk of being put out of their homes. It's got a bunch of signs of people saying stop eviction. So this is, I love it when articles begin like with the dateline, August 26th, 2021, Washington, the Supreme Court on Thursday.
They should all do that.
Yeah. So it was big news everywhere. We got a lot of people that sent text to us,
messaged us.
Yeah, messaged us, DM'd us, and said, dude, you got to check this out. So the CDC has imposed a nationwide moratorium on evictions in reliance on decades-old statute that authorizes it to implement measures like fumigation and pest extermination. I didn't know that part of it. I thought that was really interesting. It strains to believe that this statute grants the CDC sweeping authority for all these assets. These questions call for considered decision-making informed by a full briefing and argument, he wrote. Their answers impact health of millions, and we should not set the CDC's eviction moratorium in this summary proceeding. All right, so the long and short of it is, and Dan, I know you read a lot about this too. I know a lot of our listeners have seen this. Let me go back to us here. Sorry, it'll take a minute before I remember how to do this. But there are still some protections for people. As a matter of fact, there are still some states that are still banned. Those states. This one comes to us from CNBC. Those states are. I'm looking for. Where's the list? All right, there it is. Washington State, Oregon, Minnesota, New York, and Nevada. So the national eviction ban is no longer in effect. However, these 4 states will continue to ban evictions. Illinois will do so till September 19th. California's ban will last through September 30th. New Jersey and DC will still curb the proceedings till January 2022. New Mexico also has eviction moratorium in effect. Let's see. In at least 5 states who've put in application haven't received funding. Oh, those were the states. I'm sorry. Those were the states that have not received the funding.
Right.
Washington State, Oregon, Minnesota, New York, and Nevada.
Yeah, the ones with bans in place are still. I have those. It's California, Minnesota, Jersey, New Mexico, New York, and Washington.
Yep.
The District of Columbia also has a local moratorium.
And this was a 6-3 ruling. It was not. I mean, I guess you could say it's not close. 5-4 seems
5-4.
It's
yeah,
just one different vote, but 6-3 is. It's not unanimous. It's pretty heavy-handed, I guess you could say. There's not like a lot of dissent there. 4 justices said they would have granted the request to block the moratorium. Brett Kavanaugh said he would have too, but decided not to because at that point in late June, it was to last only a few weeks. He said only Congress could impose such a nationwide moratorium.
Right, and that's the interesting thing here is we have to remember when this all started. The moratorium was through the CARES Act, which was run through Congress and all. It was passed, right? So it was voted on. Then these extensions or the ban on their moratoriums has just been extended, but not gone through Congress. So that's where it kind of becomes really murky waters. And the article does state, and where's this from? Is this CNBC, the first one we're reading?
Yeah, the first one was the New York Times. Then we also have the CNBC. There's 2.
I think I pulled from CNBC. But it mentions that landlords are losing up to, let me see, $19 billion a month.
Wow. Well, we talked about a lawsuit about 3 weeks ago where a big landlord in, I think it was Los Angeles, was suing the city of Los Angeles, right?
Yes.
And they were suing for $100 million because they had already lost $20 million. And they thought by the time the eviction moratorium has ended in that area that they would have lost $100 million.
Yeah.
And that's still is that still one of the areas that are holding out?
Yeah.
LA still have the ban in place. So, so that lawsuit, my big question, and I'd love some feedback from other people in the audience. Hey, Matt Farrell joined us. What's up, Matt? My big question is this going to, so if the Supreme Court says, yeah, this has been illegal for a while, essentially in their dissent opinion, is this going to open up the government to all kinds of lawsuits from landlords? And I know the government's been trying to put rental assistance in place, but what is going to make the landlords whole?
Right. What's going to get, well, remember there is assistance, but you mentioned those states where it hasn't even arrived yet. So where's the money? Like it was all part of the care, or, I forget which bill it was, but they got the money out there. They said this amount is going to go to all the landlords and all the tenants. And then why hasn't it been rolled out? Where's the money? What's the hold up there? Who's holding the money up is my biggest question, which is always my question. What, follow the money kind of thing. But
show me the money.
Yeah, but it's interesting that in my opinion, we've done what we've had to do and gotten the money's out there. It's supposed to go to these landlords and these tenants, but we can't keep holding this. We can't keep doing this, especially with unemployment ending. People are the unemployment benefits ending. People are going to go back to work. And I know we're going to get into that a little bit, but these landlords are, you got to remember, they're the ones holding on to actual property. They have to be able to pay for it.
Is this decision by the Supreme Court going to reverse some state decisions, you think, eventually, or are they going to try to continue with the holdout?
I think they'll keep trying to continue with the holdout, but they shouldn't.
Yeah. The whole premise is that if you allow people who are not paying their rent to be evicted, that it's going to spread the pandy because why? That's the part where I'm missing the research on that.
We've never really seen any research on it. And it does say, so let me see. I have in here, where does it say? The CDC has imposed nationwide moratorium. There you go.
In order for that to be true, you'd have to believe that the renters don't go anywhere.
Well, let me, to play the other side, is the 7-day average of daily new cases, because they're saying part of this is because there's more, this variant of the new Rona and all that stuff. What are we calling it? Rona 2.0?
Yeah.
The 7-day average of the daily new cases recently stood at more than 130,000, a nearly tenfold increase from the previous month. But can I bring up a point? If people aren't being evicted, why are cases going up? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, or are they saying that if they're evicted, then they'll go up even more?
Even more. It's the even more argument that you can't. How do you scientifically?
No, even more.
Yeah.
And then you have your counterpoint. No. Even
it's
more.
bad now, but it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Well, how will we know?
There you go, Eric Daniels. Landlords can always sell this to Zillow, but
landlords can always sell to Zillow. So speaking of Zillow, that's next in our headlines, actually. The Zillow Patent. I'm going to read from this article that is by HomeJab. We'll kind of talk about their perspective, where they're writing from, and then we can get into the patents itself if you guys really want to.
Because this is a blog.
If you guys want to comment on any of this stuff, just raise your hand. I'll bring you up and you can add your comments or 2 cents. I've gotten some back channel messages and stuff, which I appreciate, but it's easier if you just raise your hand and say it yourself. So this one is from HomeJab. This one is about the Zillow patent. Zillow Group is currently pursuing a patent that would drastically change the way in which real estate content is shared and distributed online. This move is the latest in a series of patent grabs that highlight Zillow's relentless campaign to monopolize the real estate marketplace, not to mention to stifle independent agents and brokerages that wish to run their business unencumbered by larger corporations. To be clear, Zillow's recent grab for power, first of its kind, isn't the first of its kind. Since the company's inception in 2006, Zillow has acquired 20 patents that govern how real estate content is to be presented to users searching mobile and desktop. But it doesn't end there. Zillow's approach to controlling real estate has been far-reaching. In fact, they've even produced a BlackBerry application patent for one, and Apple TV application or patent in 2011 and 2015. Now, note, in 2011, BlackBerry was still around. They were on their way out, but they were still around. So I don't know what usefulness of that will be, other than that is one of the most secure applications in the world. But I don't know what they're going to do with it. They go into the definition of a patent, which we're going to skip over. And then they talk about this latest abstract. Now I'm going to display. Dan, can you see this patent? This is the whole thing. Let's see if I'm in there. No, you just see. All right, hang on.
We just see the article.
The United States. All right, so I'm going to display this for you guys to see. Feel free to go read this if you're looking for to put you to sleep at night. Here's the patent and the abstract. So the abstract portion is what I'll read. Techniques are described for using computing devices to perform automated operations related to providing visual information of multiple types in an integrated manner about building and other defined area.
Wait, it's so vague.
I bet you think this song is about you.
Yeah.
The techniques
it just says what a website is.
That's kind of, yeah. The techniques may include generating and presenting a graphic user interface on a client's device that includes a computer model of the building's interior with one or more types of information, and simultaneously presenting other types of related information about the building's interior in another panel, basically. The computer model may be a 3D or a 2.5D representation generated after the house is built and showing the actual house's interior, walls, furniture, etc., and may be displayed to a user of a client's computing device in a graphic user interface with various user selectable controls. All right. So they canceled 1-31, which I'm kind of curious what that was. They go into the details about some of this stuff, but the details are just as vague as the abstract. So you can't really tell exactly what they're going to do or exactly what it's going to look like. They have the technical field in there too. Automated operations may include controlling how multiple types of information are presented in various embodiments, and it's very vague. Even with as many words, I'm scrolling through this so you guys can see. Even with as many words as they have in this document, it is super vague, and we don't know exactly what they're talking about. But there is some, what's the word? Speculation.
Right.
That folks that Zillow might use this to say, Dan, you can't display properties on your websites like we are. So we're going to need you to change your website because we got this patent here. Right. Is that what you think's going on, Dan? Do you think there's something nefarious going on here, or is it less nefarious? What do you think?
So I think, and remember, and it's interesting. Excuse me. Sorry. Hold on. Let me mute real quick.
Cough button. We need a cough button.
There we go. Yeah. Well, usually I have something to drink here, but things have been nutty. So and we got to remember, part of this article is it does state that, as they're, and this is a blog, so this is an opinion piece, and you can kind of hear it in there. They're so much doom and gloom in this article. They're further, and by the way, I don't like Zillow. So if it sounds like I'm supporting them, it hurts me to support them. But it's just so much doom and gloom there. It's another way that they're trying to take over the real estate market, and they're trying to dominate this and dominate that. I really think, especially knowing that it's so vague, I really think that it's just because they have 20 other patents that haven't been mentioned that may keep people from showing properties the way that they show them, but they haven't gone after anybody. There's been no big lawsuit, Zillow saying you can't do that because we have a patent on that. I think this is just another way saying, look, we've been in the game since 2006, 2007. We're the big dog, and we want to patent how we do it, the things that we invented, which the article does say that they didn't really invent it, but I'll get to that in a second. That we created these things. We've kind of paved the way for all these other sites that do it. We want a patent around it. I don't think it's anything nefarious. I really don't. I think it's just them saying we want to do this thing. But are they really, Ray? Are they going to come after you in Central Arkansas for displaying properties how they display them on their website?
Dan, if that is what this patent is regarding, then they would have to, in order to maintain the legality of the patent.
They'd have to go after everyone.
Yeah, they could not allow me to do that and get away with it if it violates their patent without pursuing legal action, or it could, I'm not an attorney, but it could invalidate the patent, is my understanding. If somebody's copying you and you never go after them, then you're basically allowing it to happen. So personally, I don't really think there's anything nefarious. I know there's limits also on how long something can be in the public domain and then be patented. So if they didn't have a patent on the style and brand and look and feel of their website, and they're just now getting it, they're late. Right. And everybody who's already copied them is probably in the clear. So the question is this about their website or how agents display information, or is this new technology? And I personally think that after reading through the patent and seeing all the references to 3D or 2.5D, seeing all the references to using your computing device or using a mobile device of some sort, doesn't say phone, I think it very well could be an augmented reality or a virtual reality type of solution that they've developed.
Because it does say 3D or 2.5.
Right. And so there's something there, I think, and they can't like say, well, augmented reality display of a home, they're going to have a hard time patenting that because Apple stood on stage and said, hey guys, with our tools and our code, this is what you can do with it, and basically showed you how to display a home or display a model, a 3D model or something like that. Using augmented reality.
Matterport's been doing this for what, 10 years?
Yeah. Well, Matterport has been, but before them, there was a company called Visual Studio and it was Virtual Studio and Visual Solutions or something like that.
Yeah.
Those were, I think, were the first two 3D companies to do 360 walkthroughs and things like that. So it can't, in my opinion, it can't be displaying real estate and real estate content on a website, because that's been around so long and it's been done so long. And they would have a really hard time chasing all those down, and they would have to chase every single one of them down in order to keep a valid patent. So I don't think it could be that. I don't think it could be 360 tours or walkthroughs, because other companies have been doing that a long time and they have different technology than Zillow.
Right.
Now, could you say it's a specific type of technology that maybe compresses those files differently or displays it more efficiently than the average agent's
delivers it because they want to stay at the top of SEO. Yeah.
Yeah. Then, yeah, you could make that argument that it's specific to that, but the patent application is so vague that I don't think that's what it is. What I think it is they're patenting the code or the thing that is about to come out. It's not out yet, but it's probably a augmented reality or a virtual reality system in which someone is looking through a graphic user interface at a property in a 3D model type thing, and information is being displayed over that model that is custom to that user or that's custom to that house. And there's also an additional pane somewhere on the side with a basically a floor plan. It kept referencing a floor plan of the property, so you kind of know where you are in that floor plan. I can totally see them having like an Oculus Rift app for this.
That's what I was gonna say. Is it virtual? You think they're gonna go like for a virtual reality thing?
I think so. I mean, if they could, all of us agents who are like up in arms about Zillow, if they say, guys, if you use our app to take a whole 3D model of a house, then we have technology that can make an actual 3D model from that. And then anyone in the world who has an Oculus Rift can walk around, or some kind of 3D display, can walk around your client's listing in the comfort of their own home. And they don't need the Google Cardboard glasses. They don't need a Matterport thing. It's all free. Just use your phone. If they said that, what agent in their right mind wouldn't do that? It's free.
Right.
Yeah. So now you're giving them all the data, you're giving them everything you need, right? And then, what's to stop, quote unquote, Zillow from taking that information, converting the client themselves? I just don't think they're in the business of selling houses by themselves. I think they're doing it as a convenience because they get paid more money if they could do the iBuyer solution or the, they're making additional money. But even that, it looks on the surface like they're making money, but they're not, according to the books. So they're only making money by reselling it to the agents. So they need agents, even through an iBuyer situation right now, they need agents to make money.
Yeah.
So I just don't see that they're going to come after agents and how they display stuff on their websites.
And it looks like Scott, I brought Holly up, and then Scotty has something to say too.
Okay, let me bring up Clubhouse. I want to get some of your comments in Clubhouse. Tell us who you are, what market you work, and give us your thoughts on this, Scotty.
Sure. Thank you very much. My name is Scotty Eliano. I am a New York City broker for almost 20 years, and I'm probably the first residential broker on Clubhouse. But I've been watching, obviously, Zillow and Trulia, and here in New York, in Manhattan, Street Easy, which is owned by Zillow, is the number one website for real estate. I distrust Zillow immensely. Their whole goal is to get brokers out of the business and to take, over what we do and drive us out. They will eventually, they're taking steps to do that with ideas like patents like these. But if they can't, what they will be doing eventually, and you can mark my words on this, they will be charging us brokers to list their properties on their website. So that's how they're going to be making money. They're going to be getting too big and too powerful with too much technology through their patents, where we can't afford to not use them and not pay them. And so that is going to be part of their end game. And why do I say that? Because Street Easy has been doing that on the rental side. They tested that on the rental side here in New York City. Agents used to have their stuff on Street Easy all the time for rentals, and rentals are a humongous part of the market here. It's 70% of the market. And what Street Easy all of a sudden did is they started charging agents $6 per day per listing on all of their rentals. That was their game plan, to let us post for free for years and then start charging us so that they can start making money. Model? So their longer game is to eventually squeeze us so much that we have no choice but to use them and to pay them. I'm Scotty, and I'm done speaking.
Thanks, Scotty. That was awesome.
Thanks, Scotty. What were you saying, Dan, on that? Your mic wouldn't.
It's the Microsoft model. It's free until it's not free.
Oh yeah. Free until now you have to subscribe.
And now you subscribe, and now we all pay for Microsoft Office, don't we?
Yeah. Well, and it's, Scotty has the same opinion of a lot of agents around the country that Zillow is there to replace agents. I'm not of that opinion. I think I've talked to a lot of people in the Zillow company themselves, and they all say kind of the same thing, that their stated goal is to take over 1% of the transactions in the world. That's what they want. They want 1% of transactions. Now, 1% is a huge number, but that still leaves 99% to real estate agents to do off of Zillow or anything like that. So, I don't know. I think
his is a different take, though. I do have to say that.
Yeah,
and he's seeing it from a different point of view because of Street Easy, I think it was called.
And there are other models out there that have kind of copied what Scotty was just saying. So it's not without merit. I don't want you to, I think Scotty has a valid viewpoint. Right. I'm not saying it's not valid. It's just not mine. I think there's a guy, Cena, that has luxury listings. When he started luxury listings initially, it's a Instagram thing. So luxury_listings. Go look it up. It's a beautiful Instagram page. They get millions of followers. Gorgeous luxury listings from around the world are posted there. And when they initially started it, they were having to ask agents, hey, can I post your listing on this? Can I post your listing on this? Now agents come to him and pay him in order to post on his. So are they doing the same thing? Yeah, I think so. I think they may be doing the same thing. Is that bad for real estate agents or consumers? I don't know that it is. I mean, if I built a website that was getting millions of views a day, I'd probably want to charge it too.
Can I also throw out one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Scotty.
Cool. All right. So what they have been doing here, particularly with Street Easy, is that we have to, us agents on the sales side, have to manually put in our listings to Street Easy, which then gets fed to Zillow, etc. If we don't do that within 24 hours of listing it on our website, they will block us from Zillow, Street Easy, etc. But what they're also doing is that when we do post on their website, our information, and this may be a New York State Department of State issue where they could get involved. So I'm not sure how it is in every state. But here, if once we put our listing on there, when buyers go to the actual listing, what they will see first is the brokers who have paid to be the premier agent. And you have to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the listing and click some obscure link at the bottom to actually get to the seller's agent. And what that is doing is really screwing up the buyer experience, because then contacts, inquiries into the listing will go directly to an agent who probably has never seen the property and may not even know the building in this case. What Zillow and Street Easy is telling us we have to do is pay $2.99 a month, or whatever it is. It's $2.99 maybe for the course of the listing, or a certain amount per month, to have the right to remove a person from being in front of the listing, the first point of contact on the listing. So we now have to pay to be the premier agent on our own exclusive listings. So this is what Zillow and Street Easy have been doing here in New York. I'm not sure what's going on in the rest of the country, but that to me is absolutely disgusting and fraudulent. It would be the equivalent in the suburbs if some agent paid to go to the yard of a property for sale and put their open house sign, even though they didn't represent it, to put their open house sign saying that they're the exclusive agent, only to find out that the person inside selling the property is actually the exclusive agent. And I'm Scotty, and I'm done speaking.
So, Scotty, I have a follow-up question for you. If someone were to contact you, and maybe there's a building that's kind of down the street, or in a it's not necessarily a home that you represent yourself, but it's a potential buyer or a lessor, whatever. And they contact you and they say, "Hey, I'm interested in this apartment a couple of doors down." Do you, as a real estate agent, say, "You know what? I don't represent that one. Let me put you in contact with the other agent"?
Well, it depends how are they getting it? How are they seeing the property?
They just called you out of the blue. Maybe saw some of your marketing advertising. Maybe saw you on a bench or a bus there in New York, and they just called you. Would you send them to that listing agent to get the information?
No, but that's a different scenario. But they're contacting me because they're looking for a buyer representative. But what I'm obligated to do is tell them it is not my listing, but I am more than happy to show it to them if they want. But I have to disclose it is not my listing.
Well, don't agents that are also on Zillow, when it says, here are the premier agents and then here's the listing agent, aren't agents, even though it's just on Zillow, aren't they under the same obligation to say that's not my listing, but I'd be more than happy to show it to you and give you the information?
That would be nice in theory, but that's not what happens.
Well, I mean, that is what happens when I answer the phone, because all those phone calls are recorded. And so if you know that that's not happening, those calls are all recorded. And so that can easily be found out. So I think there's, as agents, we look at it and say, well, it does the buyer a disservice because it doesn't put them in contact with the listing agent. Yeah, but every agent in the world who's contacted by a buyer and the buyer's like, I want information on this house, I'm just going to go call the guy on the sign. What do we tell them? We're like, no. Don't call the listing agent directly, because they're master negotiators and they can ask, 5 or 6 different questions. And if you answer those questions wrong, you're going to be paying a lot more. Let me, the professional negotiator, go to that listing agent and ask on your behalf. But someone has a listing on Zillow and then we get upset because they're not contacting the listing agent. Well, as an industry, we've been telling people, no, you should contact someone else besides the listing agent. So we can't have it both ways. I mean, yes, I am totally fine. And I understand that you want to advertise your listing and you want to be the main agent on there. But if I build a website and I pay for an IDX feed from your brokerage, and I am a real estate broker in your area, I have all the same rights to you to market those properties on my website how I see fit. And I have to put somewhere on there listed by and have the brokerage name. You don't even have to have the agent name in most places. So then I can have my contact information at the very top. Well, I just described exactly how my website's built. That's exactly how, if you go to Keller Williams, that's how their website's built. That's how Crowlike's website's built. It's how all of these other real estate agent websites are built. So it's not like we're doing something different. When somebody inquires through my website, I'm not like, well, I'm not the listing agent. Let me put you in contact with them. No, I'm like, I'm not the listing agent, but I'd be more than happy to give you this information and look that up for you and represent you on the buyer side. So you have a qualified negotiator that can get you the best price and hopefully save you a lot of money. So but
Zillow isn't a brokerage.
They are. Actually, they're a real estate brokerage in all 50 states now, I think.
Yeah.
So I think in a lot of cases, we as agents have to know that ship has sailed. And if you have to pay in order to knock people off, you can choose to do that, or you can lead generate other ways. Your cat's wigging me out because he's like looking almost at the camera there. Sorry, Dan's cat makes an appearance. I do want to get to Holly. Holly, I know you raised your hand. I think it was probably a question or a comment regarding the Zillow thing, unless it was something earlier that we talked about.
I think it was for this. Yeah.
Holly, tell us who you are, what market you work, and what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, love this conversation. So Holly Barrett, I'm a realtor in Atlanta. Zillow, we're one of the first markets that they rolled out their true brokerage, with actual full-time realtors. They work Tuesday to Saturday, 9 to 5. They are acquiring properties like gangbusters here, and we have actually, we are under contract to sell our personal residence to Zillow as we speak. So
what? Ooh.
Oh yeah.
So are
if
they
you guys
totally
have any
overpaying,
questions,
Holly? Are they like giving you so much money that you're like, this is ridiculous? Is that what's happening?
oh yeah, we would be foolish to turn it down. I mean, I can't even compete for my own business.
That's awesome.
You can't hire yourself.
That's right.
So Holly, what's your thoughts on this strategy by them to make a play for these houses and basically overpay what the market will bear?
Gosh, I've been really trying to figure this out myself. No one seems to understand. I've posed this question to our brokerage. Nobody really understands. There's some theories popping around. I don't know how long it's going to go on for, so we're just going to take advantage of their bad math, because I just don't think that it makes any sense to me. They're not going to make I don't see how they're going to make any money off of our house. It's really weird. But my thought overall from a realtor's perspective is we need to specialize. No more generalizing. People, I think realtors need to really hone in on their niche, because the thing about Zillow is their model is very simple, which is very nice, by the way. I think it's almost like I equate it to their forms that they use and their process. It's kind of like the difference between reading King James version, which is the way we do it still, versus reading like Holman CSB or whatever, newer version Bible. So I actually think they're onto something. This whole process is so convoluted. I feel like they're doing the right thing by simplifying it. But that said, it is not for everybody. It's very generic. It's very templated. It's not catered to any sort of unique scenarios. I mean, even with their acquisition of homes, not every home is a prospect for them. Like, it's just their model is going to be very cookie cutter. So I think realtors will still be greatly needed when it comes to any nuance. I mean, these transactions can get complex, especially when there's, investors and estates and, power of attorney. I mean, I don't see Zillow ever really filling that void of being, experts in any particular niche, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah,
I think it's a great point.
I would agree with that. Those are great points. One of the things that we saw, so I'm in Arkansas. We are home of the world's largest retailer, Walmart, and there was a couple of years ago, there was this big, like everywhere Walmart opened, there were riots and stuff, being like, oh, they're killing the small businesses. And I've told this story on the show before, but I knew this guy that basically sold fish and fish tanks, right? And he was across from a location of Walmart where Walmart sold fish and fish tanks. And he had the choice to go out of business. If he competed, he could not compete with them directly because they were the low price leaders on goldfish, right? So instead of trying to compete with him directly, he then decided to specialize in the types of fish, specialize in the types of, tanks, in repairing all that stuff. And I don't know anything about fish, but basically this guy really drilled down and specialized. So you could only find these exotic fish with him, and you can only buy certain types of fish with him. He went away from the goldfish and guppies, but then would teach you how to breed, and your fish was guaranteed to not die in 3 days like some people were experiencing at the other place across the street. And it wound up being a huge boom for his business, because he would then go into Walmart and talk to the people that were in the little pet section, and they would start referring people to him because he knew more.
Nice.
So they would come in and try to buy some fish or rocks and stuff like that. And people would say, yeah, you're asking questions. You should really go across the street to that fish guy. If
you know what you want, you can buy it here. But if not, go to that guy over there.
Right. And eventually the Walmart, the big giant, stopped carrying fish. Right. They were having more fish die in their tanks than it was worth. And then the guy was bringing in so much business. So then he started carrying other stuff. I think that is kind of what Holly is referring to, is that we have an opportunity to really become a niche expert, become the local expert in a particular neighborhood or a particular city, to where no one knows that city like we do as real estate agents. And I made a claim that sounds less bold these days, but it was back in 2016. And I said, in the future, we wouldn't just be real estate agents, but we'd be media companies that specialize in real estate in the community. And I still think that's kind of our foothold as agents, is that yes, people may go to Street Easy, Scotty, and try to, get into the apartment, but you made a great comment. Agents that are featured there may know nothing about the property itself.
So
and
guess
so you
what?
have an
You do.
opportunity through search engine optimization and the content you create and everything else, for everyone in that area and in that building to know that you are the expert and people should really come to you. And I think that's probably where we should spend most of our time. But Holly, to answer your question about why they're overpaying for a bunch of the properties,
I think Pete says it.
Yeah, we talked about this a couple of months ago when they started doing this more and more. But I think as a group, as a Bearded Men of Real Estate show and contributors group, have all discussed it at length. And our prediction is that they're buying those properties and overpaying for them in the same way that most people would buy a billboard. If you can generate 5 or 6 great phone calls off of a billboard, then it makes that billboard worth it. And I think Zillow sees that, hey, if we can buy properties in these areas and then list them on our website and guarantee that they're going to be listed for a particular time on our website, or hold them and we sell them, then we don't have to make $1 off of them, because we're going to refer all of this business to real estate agents who are then going to send us 30% or 35% of the transaction. So while it looks like they made $0 on Holly's purchase, or maybe even lost $5,000 on Holly's purchase, the $40,000 that they made from the various, 10 or 12 referrals that they gave away, that is way more worth it. And I think
100%.
that's where they're headed. So Holly, if you kind of see that stuff happening, if you see them relist the property, maybe they list it a little high and it sits, I'd be curious if you could, check back in with us and let us know what happens and then what it sells for too.
That's interesting. Yeah, their properties around here do sit longer. Now, I will say, that's a good point. I hadn't really thought about it that way, like a billboard. They also have a lot of incentive when they sell, or actually when they even acquire the property. There's a lot of little incentives. Well, actually, they're pretty sizable incentives for the seller of the home to then use a Zillow buyer to go and buy another house. And also, they will pay for moving costs. They will have severely reduced rates. And there's also incentives to use their mortgage. So they are really, yeah, that's true. I mean, they are kind of owning the transaction and pushing hard here in Atlanta as one of the first rollouts for the brokerage to kind of bolster up their whole system. So that very well may be.
Bundling services a lot like Rocket Homes and what was the other one that we talked about last week? Those Rocket Homes and one other that they have now their own brokerage within their lending company. So, and you can, if you use a Rocket agent, then your Rocket mortgage is less.
Right.
So Pete Thorpe, he says they're buying market share. Wall Street and realtors will prop them up just like Wall Street did for Redfin. They lost money for 7 years before they turned a corner. If they can corner profitable markets, they'll become the only game in town and will get the title and lending work. They'll look like as there are 8 pieces of the pie, and bemoan how greedy, man, that's a word I haven't read in a while. Bemoan how greedy agents get 3 pieces at once. Meanwhile, they'll snag 7 of the 8 by taking smaller pieces across the whole transaction. Yeah, good point, Pete.
I just make a quick comment.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Sure. Just want to point out that all of this, what this does to actual affordability of people who want to buy into these markets who now can afford, because Zillow and LLCs who are pushing to buy single home residencies are driving up costs, and it's creating a massive affordability problem. This is just the tip.
It does create an affordability problem, and yet we have tons of buyers still buying. So I think the affordability is really going to hit when the cash runs out. And because right now, all of my clients are getting some kind of cash offer that is way more than we saw 2 years ago.
Yeah, and cash is still king.
Yeah, and there's also some FHA, and there's also some conventional. So yes, affordability is an issue, and yet properties are still selling. So I think we'll really see the affordability issue when properties slow down or stop selling, because Zillow is not going to buy. They're not buy and hold investor. They have to resell somewhere, somehow on the market eventually.
Right. Well, and that's what I was thinking is it's, going back to we got to be specialists. We have to up our service level. When the market shifts back down, Zillow's not going to offer whatever Holly got for her house. They're not going to be doing that. They're going to go back to the same thing where, the estimate's way off. Now it's closer because the market's so crazy, but they're going to go back to, what they do, and they're not going to offer as much. They're not going to be able to offer as much. They may still offer more because they're trying to create that billboard and get that money off it. But, along with that, if you're opposed to this, then, before Zillow makes us give us their money, why are you still giving Zillow your money to get your leads back? They're your own leads. Why not learn how to control your own leads? And that's what I would say about the Street Easy thing is, how did Street Easy get so big to where they could corner a market? I feel like they were allowed to do that. And maybe they were allowed to do that because, it's free. It's going to be free forever until it's not. I learned growing up, nothing is for free. Nothing ever is free. So at some point, you guys allowed that to happen to let them become so big. Now they're charging you guys. You're going to have to find yourself another system like HAR does in the Houston area of realtors or Houston Association of Realtors. They have their own website. Yeah. And also, I wanted to ask the question about, can't in New York, maybe it's different, but can't you still put your rental listings on the multiple listing service too? Why do you have to go through Street Easy?
Well, if you don't go through Street Easy, Zillow is going to punish you. Basically, is what he's saying. You don't get get any kind of promotion or anything
on the sales side. Sorry, on the sales side.
Yeah,
but again, that's the control your own market. You have to control your own listings and control your own data. Just like Ray said,
destiny.
Yeah, and control your own destiny. So I think it's interesting, but they didn't force their way in. They didn't put a gun to anyone's head and say, use our rental service. Zillow doesn't put guns to anyone and say, hey, you have to use us to get leads. You can get leads in other ways. And now we're here.
So I did want to point out that the website that we got first, Glenda, she was just in the chat. I think she dropped out now, but she was the one who brought this to our attention. Fred was another guy that brought this article to our attention. So I appreciate you guys doing that. And they did that in the show prep show yesterday. But I did want to mention that the article that was written by is a company that's developing a competing app. So HomeJab is the company that produced the article, and they are developing a competing app. So at the end of the article, they're like, imagine an app that's like this and does this and does this.
So the whole thing is just an ad for their HomeJab.
Well, what they said is true and interesting, but I think they built up maybe, the worst case scenario to help sell their product
100%
to real estate agents, but they seem to be a real estate friendly group because that was kind of their whole point.
Yeah. And it's a good article, but it is a little, I think, over the top based on a patent that may or may not be trying to take over the world. But Scap has a great point if you want to read that one, Ray.
Yeah, so Scap is an appraiser. He's in the Clubhouse group too. He sends this though via Facebook. He said if they make money off everything on the back end. I've never seen a contract of theirs as an appraiser, but if anything like knock.com here in Atlanta, their contracts state that the buyer will pay XYZ amount regardless of the appraisal is done, plus any other repairs, etc., that is to be done by them. Yes, that's also what we've heard, Mark.
Yeah.
Good point.
And that's on the buy side. So, but again, when you go back to their model, that's what their model says. If enough people don't want to use it, then they don't use it. You have to speak with your wallet. I mean, I don't know. I can keep going forever on this one. But
since Scott was talking about the affordability, I'm going to jump to the U.S. home price growth article that we have from Housing Wire.
Good.
With little inventory. Wait, I'm not displaying it. Sorry, hang on. I got to display it. Sorry, I forgot.
So much to do.
With little inventory, home price growth in the U.S. hit a record high in June, rising 18.6% from the same period last year, according to S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller Index. June marked the highest annual rate of home price growth since the index debuted in 1987, beating out the 16.8% annual growth rate logged a month prior in May 2021. Quote, this is from the CoreLogic Deputy Chief Economist Selma Hepp. She says, while the housing market feels like it has legs that never get tired, inventory and affordability constraints are still expected to put a damper on price growth. Some early data suggest that the buyer frenzy we experienced this spring is tapering, though many buyers will remain in the market. Nevertheless, less competition and more for sale homes suggest that we may see a peak of the home price acceleration going forward. Going forward, sorry, home price growth may ease off. What? What?
There it is.
Saying the thing to look for is home price gains slow.
Yeah.
Going forward, home price growth may ease off, but stay in the double digits through the year end. So they anticipate that home prices will continue to increase, in part because the number of buyers that are still lingering around to purchase and the limited inventory in the market. So this article, you can read the details from Housing Wire. We've previously suggested the strength in the U.S. housing market is being driven in part by the reaction to the pandy as potential buyers move from urban apartments to suburban homes. That's Craig Lazar. He's the managing director of global head of the index investment strategy at S&P DJI. We talked. The only reason why I wanted to bring that up is because there were studies done on this, and they found that people weren't necessarily moving zip codes. They were staying in the same zip code, but they were moving housing types. So we are seeing more single family units than previously, the run into downtown condos. Whenever we started the show, there was a move. You remember the whole urban infill thing?
Yeah. This is the opposite.
I forgot to display us. Sorry. So we talked a lot about the urban infill and how everyone was moving from the suburbs to be closer into the city because they enjoyed the walkability and all that stuff. Now this is having the inverse effect.
Yeah.
Where people are now moving not necessarily out of the city, but they are moving back into suburbs, single family units. They want a little bit of space. They want to get away from people. I personally am having a lot of people move to Arkansas from other states. We've had a huge influx from Oregon,
to maximize the gain.
California.
We've
had a huge influx from the that coast. So it's really interesting to see what happens around the country. But home price gains are slowing, but they're still gaining. So is this going to be a bubble? What's going to happen? There's another article on here. Let me go back. Home buyers sign fewer contracts. So one of the things that we just talked about with Scotty is that it appears that a lot of people are still buying and still signing contracts, but there is an article on CNBC that states that it is fewer than it was. Signed contracts to purchase previously owned homes fell 1.8% in July from June, according to the National Association of Realtors. They were talking about sky high prices. I want to get to the inventory number. This is the Realtors chief economist, Lawrence Yun. He said the market may be starting to cool slightly, but at the moment, there's not enough supply to match the demand from would-be home buyers.
Right.
That said, inventory is slowly increasing and home shoppers should begin to see more options in the coming months. The reason why I wanted to bring this up is because as you guys see the headlines that now it seems that fewer contracts are written to purchase a home, especially resell homes, people start to kind of panic and like, well, if fewer people are buying homes, it must mean that the crash of the market is coming. But according to most economists, the reason why there are fewer purchases is still because of the limited amount of inventory. Basically, if we had more homes for people to choose from, they would choose more homes. But if you have more homes, you're going to have a natural suppression of the price acceleration.
Right.
That means it's been going up like this. Now it'll only go up like this. Dan, what are your thoughts on those two articles before we get into Logan Matashami?
Well, I just think so. I wanted to bring up the total housing inventory at the end of July. It was 1.32 million units, which is up 7.3% from June's supply and down 12% from 1 year earlier. So it's still down 12% from a year ago, which I find really interesting. So we were at the beginning of the pandy then, right?
Yeah. Well,
we were
just everybody. Yeah, the lockdowns had kind of started to end across the country.
Yeah, people got
Real
comfortable
estate
with
agents were
Corona.
essential again.
Yeah, even in
That's kind of where we were
Pennsylvania. But so I guess we were at this point, we were 5 months in. But a lot of people figured, oh my gosh, the market's crazy. I should try to sell. And this was before they realized, well, if I sell, I may not have a place to buy. So it is interesting. But when we look at month over month, it's up, close to or 7.5%, which inventory is going up. Naturally, it's going to seem, when there's going to be more inventory sitting, which I think it's a great thing for there to be more inventory and for us to chill a little bit.
Yeah.
But does all this mean we're leading to some sort of crash or something, Ray?
That's a good question. I'm glad you asked, Daniel.
Weird. It's almost like I know the next article coming up.
Is the Fed creating a housing bubble by keeping rates low? This article comes to us from Housing Wire Plus. It is Housing Wire Plus exclusive content, so we're not going to show the home thing out of respect from Logan Matashami. He's not even on Clubhouse anymore, but even if he was.
I know, but he was for a brief moment.
He appeared on our show.
He was so great on the show. Fantastic.
Yeah. So the latest messaging that the Federal Reserve is creating by the housing bubble, keeping rates low, is that prices can skyrocket, or that Americans who recently purchased a home are going to get their equity wiped out when house prices take a nosedive. Recently, CNBC contributor Peter Bakvar was quoted in the Trading Nation as saying, "I feel bad for the people who bought homes over the past year because they're the ones that paid the very elevated prices." The article goes on to say that he singles out those who put 5% down amid historically low mortgage rates. If home prices corrected by 10%, Bakvar sees a world of pain. A world of pain because the purchaser had financial wherewithal to buy a home for their family during a time where historically low mortgage rates. Really? Right. I love that. I love that quote.
Subtle shade.
Yeah. So I'm going to read these next 2 paragraphs and then we'll get to your take on it, Dan. He said, to be fair, there's potential for pain if one purchased a home at the top of the market with a very low down payment right before a job loss recession. This is one of the risks of, quote, late cycle lending, is taking on debt with little selling equity, then losing your means of repaying that debt is a crappy situation for anyone. And if it happens to a bunch of people at once, it's even worse. But how likely is this scenario in the current market? The factors that would need to be present to cause this pain is the following. Recent housing prices represent the top of the market. Check. Recent purchases were made with no or a meager down payment, so new homeowners have little equity.
No check.
Check. Kind of.
We're going down payment
with little equity. You could say that 5% is little equity, right?
Okay, sure, yeah.
Okay, it's not enough to cover your fees unless you sell to Zillow. So we're going, sorry, that was a callback to the previous article. If you're watching this on the Chops, you got to watch the other. All right. We're going into a job loss recession. So current homeowners have a high likelihood for losing their income stream. Dan, what does he go on to say about all this stuff? Give us the brief summary. He's got lots of stats and facts. I'll pull up some of these charts while you're talking.
Yeah, well, so now I want to go back to the second point. So recent purchases were made with no or meager down payment, so new homeowners have little equity. Okay, maybe we can check that one off, Ray. But
this is what the CNBC guy theorized, is that there were a lot of homeowners getting those 5% conventional mortgages,
right,
and closing on a home.
But we also have to remember there's a lot of cash out there, and there's a lot of equity out there, because remember in June, Ray, we had a story that said since January 1, homeowners nationally on average have made $33,000+. So
yeah, that's right.
Okay, so technically, like if you buy at the top and then it starts to go down, it's going to decline slowly. Not he says the 10% correction, the Peter Bakvar. He says that it's real easy to say, in my opinion. If you only have 5% equity and it goes down 10%, now we've lost our equity. Now your house is upside down. Now you got to foreclose and you're going to die. Everyone's going to die. It's really easy to say that. And it's really easy to get clicks that way. But when you talk about in just 6 months, if you bought January 1st, you made $33,000. So, and that's, by the way, that's a national average. That wasn't just California, not just Arkansas, not just New York. That was a national average, $33,000 in their pocket if they invested in a home in January. So that right there, I think, negates the second point, which Logan goes on to negate. He goes into great detail, but again, it's Housing Wire Plus. And then the third point, I think, is the most important, that we're going into a job loss recession. So current homeowners have high likelihood of losing their income stream. So the third condition that has to be met for that world of pain is that the economy needs to go into a job loss recession. Is this likely? And this is Logan asking. Again, the answer is a big fat no, is his answer. The recession ended in April of 2020. And then he has an America, quote unquote, America is back recovery model from, if you want more on that, and you can actually click on it through the link. But we currently have over 10 million job openings with 5.7 million jobs left to fill to recover all the jobs lost to the Rona. We should be able to get all these jobs back by September 2022 or earlier. Further, we are very early in the economic expansion. So it's all up to here. It's all up from here. We just passed the fiscal stimulus plan, and our demographics are going to keep driving consumer demand. So is a job loss recession around the corner? The answer is not just no, but a hell no. So he, once again, with stats, just proves, that it most likely won't happen. And you have to remember too, as more people go back to jobs, what's going to happen? More people are going to put money back into the economy, right?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today at the end of the show too, is get you guys' thoughts on this. Do you feel like there is some kind of crash coming? And we got to be pretty quick. So if you want to talk, flash your mic and I can put you up here. But do you foresee a crash coming? And how do you think that the unemployment, the end of the unemployment benefits what do you think it'll do to the real estate market? Overall, judging by the number of help wanted ads that we see everywhere, right, and companies in our area that are like, hey, we would love to be open for lunch today, but we can't because we're short staffed. I feel like people going back to work will be a good thing and should inject the economy with some more spending. And the spending's a good thing because it increases orders, which increases the GDP. And then you'll probably see rates start to increase. There's a video that I did a long time ago. Actually, it was last year. Whenever the Fed first put the rates to zero, I talked about the two-part mandate of the Fed. They have to maintain full employment while also preventing inflation. And they do this by changing the rate at which, one of the ways they do this is by changing the rate at which banks lend each other money. So if they make that rate lower, it encourages banks to lend more money to the public. Right. So now I'm encouraged as a bank, I'm going to give Dan money because I know Dan is going to go borrow this money, pay me a higher rate, and then spend more of that money instead of giving it to the bank across the street and letting them borrow the money because they need it and they're going to pay me more with the overnight loans and stuff. So I loan it to Dan. Dan goes out. He's like, I'm going to hire a couple of employees. I'm going to really expand and grow my business. In order to do that, we're going to need to order some computers, some phones, some desks, some furniture. I got to go to a website, right? You want to find a young teen to develop you a website, then you can do that too. So all of this stuff are orders and purchases. And eventually when employment is high, or you can say there's no unemployment, which the government looks at numbers from 4 to 6% to determine, we're at full employment. Whenever they determine that they're at full employment, then you will see orders continue to increase because now everybody that wants it has jobs and money is cheap. So now they go buy stuff and exchange the dollar with something more valuable. Whenever that happens, the orders on businesses go up and they can't keep up. If I have a widget that everybody wants, I can't keep up with the production. So I have to increase the price on that widget or just cancel orders. And canceling orders is bad business. I'm just going to increase the price until I find an equilibrium that allows me to make the widgets and produce the widgets. That's the definition of inflation. So as more people go back to work, we're bound to see the Fed start to increase that rate or inch it up. I don't think it's going to be a big move. I think they're just going to eventually inch that up a little bit. So
get closer to 4.
Yeah. As that happens, will it launch us into a full recession? If it did, I think home price gains would still slow. I don't think home price gains will diminish. I don't think we'll see home losses. So I don't see how somebody bought with a 5% down payment or something like that when money was the cheapest in history made a bad decision at all, even if home price gains slow to a meager 2 or 3% increase,
which is average, right? 1 or 2, 3% a year is average. So you're still building on your 5% down payment.
through all the recessions except 2, it's averaged 2 to 6%. So yeah, it's during a recession. It's
during a recession, and right
6%.
now do we have an article on it? The
unemployment thing.
Unemployment is about to end. People are gonna have to go start. Those, and part of the reason this came up and we started looking for it. There's not really an article on, the future of employment, but we saw, and it kind of came up on our show prep show yesterday.
What did Jen? Didn't you bring that up, Jen? Flash your mic. I think Jen was the one that brought that up.
I think, but I don't know if it's based on an article or just we're all seeing a lot of everywhere we go. And we being everyone that we've talked to and the clubhouse on the show prep show is, I see now hiring or, hey, work with us. I even say, or join our team. I even see we'll pay you to go to school to learn how to do this job. Yeah. And then you can work. Like, I see a ton of that. So eventually those signs are going to be gone. And
heck, Krylike just offered a retirement. Do you know about that?
Wait, what? You cut out.
Oh, I said Krylike just offered a retirement account.
Cool. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Everybody's trying to incentivize everybody to go to work.
Yeah. Now, if only we could do something to incentivize sellers. I've said it 1,000 times on this dang show. Everyone's getting incentivized except for sellers.
Except for sellers. Well, unless you sell to Zillow, according to Holly.
Yeah. Jeez.
All right. The last thing I wanted to mention on the show, only because we mentioned Gary Keller's announcement or his quote unquote encouragement last week, was that if you are going to Inman Connect, you have to be vaccinated.
So Keller was encouragement, though. This is you have to be. And this is, and what was it? It used to be one or the other. Now it's what you have to show proof, right?
Yeah. You got to show proof of vaccination within 2 weeks of going. So the
second
date,
shot.
Where is the date? Oh, no, as of August 19th, 2021, you have to have had the second shot. So if you guys are going to that, be sure that you get vaccinated if you still want to go to that.
So yeah. Oh, the dates are right there. October 26th to 28th.
Oh, okay. There's still plenty of time to get that.
You have time to, by the way, it's really cool. Cause like I can stick my car keys, just stick right to my head. I can open my car by blinking my eyes. I order Microsoft.
You got that microchip, right? You got that.
I had it put in because I thought it would be great. And it's been amazing.
Conspiracy theory. Where's my tinfoil hat? Hat?
I blink and my car doors open. I order Microsoft products by just thinking about it. It's really awesome.
Have you ever seen those YouTube videos that are like, here's how to restore a CD? First, you take the CD and you rub it gently with rubbing alcohol on the back. Next, you place it in your microwave for 5 seconds. Have you seen those YouTube videos that are instructionals like that?
No.
I feel like that's what we just did.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that, people.
Don't put anything metal in the thing. Yeah.
Don't put something metal in the microwave. All right, Dan. Speaking of metal, can you tell everybody where they can find you?
D Ludwig DLUDWIGROCKS everywhere, but mostly here on Clubhouse. And by the way, if you want to tip us, because we make $0. By the way,
we might actually have to hire a producer too.
I know, and I'm not ashamed to do this. We get paid $0 and have been for 4 years now. So
162 episodes.
My Cash App is D Ludwig Rocks as well. You want to send me a tip? Don't think about it as paying me for this free service we give you. Think about it buying me a drink. Buy Ray and I a drink.
Dan, but anyway, we haven't talked about your free beer in a long time because of the whole COVID thing, but Dan had a brilliant marketing campaign back in the day about free beer.
It was amazing.
I do want to mention though, because Glenda jumped back in the room. Glenda, I thanked you earlier. You couldn't hear it, but I thanked you earlier for sharing the Zillow article. We had a rousing discussion. I'm sad that you had to miss it, but I will definitely send you the link whenever we produce the chop there. Pete Thorpe. So you can, Pete Thorpe said now on Only Dan's. That's great. You're Only Dan.
Yeah.
You have to do that. You have to do that now. You guys can find me at Ray Zorback. That's RayZorback. Find me on Instagram. Find me here on Clubhouse. Basically, wherever good Razorbacks are sold. So
thank you. That's so good.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, Clubhouse. We really appreciate the feedback and the comments. And this is one of the reasons why we do it, just have some relationship with you guys. And we believe you guys are kind of what makes the show different. That's why we don't record it in the silence of a bunker and then release it. And
right.
We would love it if you'd review it, though. So go to the podcast. Please review the podcast. Even if you don't download the podcast, if you just watch it on YouTube, go to YouTube, hit the subscribe button, but then also go to the podcast and review it because you're listening to it one way or the other. But we really appreciate you guys, and thank you so much for joining us. So we'll see you next time.
Love you guys.
Bye, everybody.